Yo, what is going on YouTube? Good afternoon, morning. I don't really know what to consider it right now. It's kind of that awkward, like 11 o'clock period, but I have an exam here in 45 minutes. I did study quite a bit for it, so I'm just going to give you guys some content real quick. I'm probably going to record my other content as well and then kind of throw it together, give you guys a video later this afternoon before I head out like 40 minutes away from my college to meet up with my family and stuff. So we have the 58th episode of The Sopranos. This is the 6th of the 5th season. Like I say many times, we are kind of nearing the halfway point of this season, so it's super important. We're getting close to ending this show. I think after this, I don't know what I'm going to watch. I'm probably going to watch You because a lot of people are talking about it. And obviously, if we get new shows coming out with new seasons that we've already reviewed on the channel, we can go back and kind of watch those to hold us over. But yeah, content's really interesting. So yeah, we'll talk about what happened. There's not really much happening here. It's just kind of one giant piece of an episode. I don't know. It's just kind of a continuation from what happened before. We don't meet anyone new. No one dies. Nothing super major happens. It's just kind of like emotional warfare, drama. So yeah, let's get into it. So Tony is finding it increasingly difficult to take care of AJ, who is sent back to Carmela. Carmela is obviously the motherly figure. So she kind of knows what she's doing a little bit more than Tony does. So that is very understandable. So she lets him move back in on the condition that he improve his grades and behavior. So yeah, he's got to follow some criteria. He's got to be a respectful young man, young adult anyway. So Carmela goes to see Robert Wegler at the school and agrees to have dinner with him the following evening. So they're kind of building a kind of intimate relationship. You get the hint last episode, but I guess you get the hint that it's going to go this far. I mean, she's technically cheating. They haven't signed off on their divorce papers yet, or whatever. So she's technically sinning. She's technically cheating. She took a vow by the church for marriage, and she's kind of breaking that vow, which isn't great. And we kind of talk about her religious aspects, like the morality of it all. But I'm not a super religious person, so in my mind, I think, well, Tony's done it all these years. I think there's got to be some karma. Whatever is given should be taken at times. I don't know. That's a dumb way to put it, but whatever. So after dinner, they go to his home and have sex. So this is the first time she's actually had sex with someone other than Tony on this show. So it's pretty monumental. I think that's the case anyway. Yeah. So after dinner, Carmela meets Father Phil in Santola for lunch and tells him of her new relationship. He reminds her that she made a commitment to her husband before God and that she shouldn't have sex. It's a little too late for that. However, she continues the affair even after making a formal confession to Father Phil. I mean, she's tried to kind of reject it, try to push it away, but it's irresistible at this point. This is a guy that seems like he really cares about her. Obviously, things are going to come crumbling down very soon. Literally in this episode, it's kind of crazy how quick this show moves with stuff. But yeah, this is really a Carmela episode, which I really appreciate that this show did that. So Carmela abruptly leaves during another date with Wegler, saying she's upset about AJ's academic performance and troubled by the laws of the church. And like the more she kind of brings up her son's stuff in school, the more it seems like, well, she's kind of using him. And I don't really blame Mr. Wegler for kind of having the freak out kind of thing that we see him have soon. So the next day, Wegler pressures AJ's English teacher to raise his grade for a poorly written term paper so he can continue having these relations with Carmela. Again, he does kind of realize she is using him, but it's like, well, he's having fun. He's enjoying his time with her. They do have some genuine conversations. It's not like it's just for usage. He's not just for usage, so yeah, after several rounds of sex, after which Carmela talks each time about strategies to elevate AJ's academic standing, Wegler concludes that she is just using him to get her son better grades and confronts her, telling her that she uses people, which is kind of true. Like, that's a pretty fair assessment for her character throughout the show. He, like, hits that right on the money, and it's funny because he doesn't really know her that well. So, it is kind of funny. I mean, I guess the show's kind of criticizing their own character, which it's not really criticizing because you kind of have to have characters like this in a TV show. So, yeah, Carmela, deeply hurt, vehemently rejects his assessment, but Wegler calmly stands his ground and Carmela storms out. So when she has an attack on a character, we know this about Carmela, she's going to get pissed off and walk out. The next day, when her father suggests that she look for other men, Carmela replies that, as Tony's wife, her motives will always be distrusted. It's not because, like, I don't know. I don't think Wegler necessarily turned her down because of her reputation. Like, she genuinely seemed like she was using him for grades. So yeah, Tony B tries to adjust to civilian life. Meanwhile, it's pretty much Tony B and Carmela's episode, which is cool. His Korean American employer, who was pressured by Tony into giving Tony B a job, is hostile due to Tony B's mob connections. He's like, "Oh, you're a criminal. You American lazy criminal." So, the employer changes his mind when he realizes how hardworking Tony B is, both on the job and in his effort to pass the state massage board exam. So as he's kind of learning more about him, there's a little more, like, than what's on the surface for Tony B to him. And it's nice. They kind of build this mutual respect for each other, and they're going to plan a partnership, which is really cool. So, yeah, Tony B, he offers to partner up with Tony B, offering an empty storefront in West Caldwell. Tony B passes the exam and begins work on the storefront, preparing him for business, but he doesn't realize how much work he actually has to put in to get this business going and continue his employment and his loyalty to Kim. So, however, he comes across a bag containing $12,000, apparently thrown away by fleeing drug dealers, and goes on a self-destructive tear, wasting most of the money on gambling, alcohol, and expensive clothes. Just the classic mobster way of life, reverting back to his old ways prior to being imprisoned. So, Tony B's employer visits the store and encourages him to keep working. Tony B snaps and beats him up like he's lost. Like he might be under the influence of alcohol. He's super lost, super disoriented, kind of getting ahead of himself a little bit. Like he could have used that money to throw it into the store. He was even thinking about getting his girl a ring, which is amazing. That would have been a great cause too. Shows how good of a man you are. Aaron Donald retired. Never mind. Okay, that's not related to this, but yeah. With Tony at Nuevo Vesuvio, Tony B hints that he screwed up and asks if Tony still needs someone to cover the airbag scheme. So it's a really interesting turn because it shows that Tony Bellandetto is returning back to kind of the mobster lifestyle, which is something that I feel like a lot of the fans of the show kind of wanted, and it's something that a lot of people kind of needed for it. I don't really have that much to say. The episode, funny enough, is a lot about education, which is why it's called Sentimental Education. I think I'm just going to be out of here. I know I should review it a little bit, but I really like it. We did kind of have a discussion throughout. This can be a shorter review. I'm fine with it. I got to get to recording other stuff, getting to work.